John Cullen with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today we got Dr. Tim Trader back, who's a naturopathic doctor and has a PhD in nutrition, who started his raw vegan journey in 1990, maybe before a lot of you guys may have been born. Anyways, I started in 1995, so you have a lot of information here between the two of us. Of course, he does this more in a clinical setting where he actually helps people to turn their health around. If you want to learn more about Dr. Tim, link down below to our in-depth, super long interview so you guys can learn more about him. So in this episode, we'll be debunking some common raw vegan myths and being mythbusters in this episode. There's a lot of misconceptions out there in the raw vegan movement, things that are just perpetuated on as the truth when, you know, it's not actually the way it is. So we want to really just get down to the bare bones and share with you guys the truth about these topics. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Tim about some of the things going on out there, and he's going to tell you guys how it is for real as a clinician and naturopathic physician, and has a PhD in nutrition, all right? So Dr. Tim, the first thing I want to discuss today is detoxification. So, you know, I've heard so many times, and it goes on online a lot, if you're feeling ill or something's wrong with you, you know, you're just detoxing and you need to go deeper and you need to detox more and you're just going to get over it. Is everything always a symptom of detox, and what are your thoughts on detoxification in general?
Let's start with some general things about detoxification. Every cell in your body neutralizes toxins. The biggest factory in your body that does neutralize toxins is your liver. And your liver does it with hepatic biotransformation, phase 1 and phase 2. The first phase is where it makes it water soluble. But it can also make it more toxin. So it comes in with instantly, as quick as it can at least, with phase 2, which attaches something to it so that it neutralizes the toxic part and makes it available to get rid of, and recognized to be getting rid of, either by the liver dumping into the digestive system or over to the kidneys or into the lungs, and getting rid of these toxins as needed. The body has this great wisdom about how to do that. But we have a tendency to think, oh, this is not a normal thing. We don't want to do that. We feel ill with it. A lot of raw foodists who say, I'm detoxing, are having symptoms because of what they're doing, not because of what the food is doing for them. The first thing is they're losing weight. Whether you're getting enough calories in or not, just starting on a new diet, you will lose weight. And I'm not talking about a diet as for a weight loss product, but I'm talking about a diet as something that you do for the rest of your life type diet. The foods that you eat. And when you change radically, you will get some things happening. And in that, we have a tendency to lose weight. And when we lose weight, triglycerides go up, and cholesterol can go up, and other things can go up that create a situation where you may not be getting the blood flow that you need, the uneasiness. And so, first thing is that. Another thing is that you're not getting enough nutrition to start with, enough calories to get in. And in that, if you're not getting enough calories, you're going to have fatigue. You're going to have headaches. You're going to have a lot of things that are not detoxing. They are just something that's happening because you're not getting your needs met. Another need that's not being met is that you're getting you're not getting a certain nutrient. And that certain nutrient can be really drastic in making things work. And if they're not working, we can have problems. Let's just take potassium, for instance, or other minerals like calcium. We can have problems. Calcium can cause cramping in a muscle. It can cause other things, and they say, oh, I'm just detoxing. No, you actually could be calcium deficient. Or we could be potassium deficient, and it may cause heart palpitations, or it might cause a headache. And these are not detoxification symptoms, they are just deficiency symptoms. And we need to address them, and we need to find out what's going on. Yes, you may get over it eventually without making any changes, but it's because the body gets tired of trying to do something that it can't do. You still need to find the situations that are going on. This is not a detoxification situation. So it's not something we really want to call healthy, because it's not.
All right, Dr. Tim, so some of the things that came across my mind is that you could be dehydrated, which could cause many symptoms as well,
Yes.
you didn't cover. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned phase 1 and phase 2 of liver detoxification, right? And maybe you're not getting the proper nutrients, which then leads back to not eating the proper foods and not having the right nutrients, so that your body can actually do phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification. So you want to talk about some of the different nutrients required for your liver to properly detoxify, because in some raw vegan diets, these nutrients may be missing.
Good point. Good point. The liver requires a lot of things going on, but there are two primary cycles. One's methylation cycle, the other one's sulfonation cycle, that help the liver do its thing. But if you have a B12 deficiency, or any of the B vitamins, B6, folate, any of those, you affect the methylation cycle. And if the methylation cycle isn't happening right, then you start getting inflammation instead of getting rid of it. So it could be that you're raising a homocysteine, which is very seriously bad for inflammation, and you will get an overall bad feeling, and that doesn't work either. Another thing is the sulfonation cycle.
Phase 2.
It is primarily in phase 2, but like methylation, it actually can be used in both. In phase 1, we find that sulfonation helps create our own antioxidants in our body, which keep the inflammation down by taking care of free radicals. Glutathione being a sulfur-based antioxidant that we make ourselves, and so it's very helpful during phase 1, but glutathione is mainly used in phase 2. So it's not a cut and dry phase 1, phase 2. The methylation cycle is used in both phase 1 and phase 2, where sulfonation cycle can be, and for that, can be that we're not getting the sulfur that we need, or sulfate to be proper. And in that, things like broccoli and broccoli sprouts or cruciferous vegetables really help with the sulfonation process. We're looking for sulforaphane that helps create the glutathione, that helps create the needed things for the sulfonation cycle. So we are indebted to these properties, but what you don't see is not really a detox problem, because detox means that you're getting rid of it. What we're seeing without these is you see a buildup of toxins, which are creating inflammation and uneasiness, and we don't need any of that. But it's still not a detox problem.
It's like a nutrient deficiency problem,
Yes,
which then is appearing as a detox problem because you're interpreting it wrong. And maybe on your raw vegan diet, because some raw vegan diets say cruciferous vegetables are bad, you shouldn't eat any. And maybe some raw vegans say don't take B12, and maybe if you're deficient in B12 and other B vitamins, your liver is not detoxing properly. So yeah, something to consider. All right, Dr. Tim, the second misconception I hear a lot out there is that you can't overeat fruit because fruit is the best food on the entire planet, and I can eat nothing but fruit and be super healthy. So what's your answer to this misconception?
Wow.
I mean, there's things that I said that are accurate and things that are maybe not so accurate, but...
We need fruit.
Yep.
It again and again, the science says that people are not getting enough fruit. But it doesn't mean an exclusively fruit diet. I've actually tried it. And it's great, but fruit can't give you the minerals and the proteins that your greens can, or other vegetables can. And so there's a situation here that may not work quite well. Sure, it works great in the short term, but in the long term, nah, none of that really applies here. I see a lot of people doing, I can do all fruit, so that means I can do other fruits like avocado. And, well, avocado is more satiating, so I'm going to do more avocado. And now I'm getting more fat than I am sugar, and it creates an ill balance in your blood system, in your sugars. And you say, well, this diet isn't working because I feel terrible. Well, it's not because the diet, it's because of the way you're doing the diet. So we see situations where all fruit doesn't work in the long term. You see it for people doing it 2, maybe 3 years, and then they all crash. And now there's some people, I have to admit,
that could go a little bit longer,
that are doing a fruit diet. And I'm going to name a name here.
Oh.
Is Ann Osborne.
Mm.
She does vegetable fruits as well as other fruits.
And she grows a lot of her own food.
She grows her own food.
Adding minerals to the garden and everything.
And she thrives because she's getting a balance, and she's getting the things that you're not going to get from your sweet fruits, and she's not overdoing the fatty foods.
And most of her stuff is not from the store, like most people.
Yeah, like most people. You can still do a healthy raw diet, just going to the store.
But diversity.
With diversity, with just getting the nutrients that you need. But you have to know what nutrients you're not getting, and turn things around a little bit and get a full spectrum of your nutrients that are needed.
So what ratio to fruits and vegetables would you say is a good ratio for people to shoot for? If they're not eating all fruit, they're eating a couple pounds of fruit a day, how many pounds of vegetables should they eat a day? And or leafy greens.
We can talk about weight, we can talk about volume, we can talk about calories.
By calories.
And it's very hard. But by calorie, you still should have more fruit than you should have vegetables.
So 60-40?
60-40 is probably good. But what you need to do is make sure that you're getting the needed nutrients.
Mm.
And that's where you find that things like chronometer or a fit day can help to do these these fine tunings of things. I personally, my fruit is how I get most of my calories in the day. But I also get 3 pounds of greens in a day or more. And then I also do a little bit of nuts and seeds, and I mean a little bit. I do some chia seed, and I do a little bit of other seed, usually every night, but no more than 2 ounces. So it doesn't, you can't even fill up your hand with 2 ounces of seeds. But it's a balance. So how do you do it? You check your nutrients. If you're doing a mono fruit diet, you're probably not going to get half as much as if you have a variety of fruits. And if you're just doing one kind of green leafy vegetables, you're probably not going to get the full spectrum of nutrients that you could get. And you got to make sure that you're getting the full spectrum. You can do a whole lot of fruit and not get the calcium needs that you need. And you can do a whole lot of greens and you're not going to get the calorie needs that you need. So it's about listening to your body as well. It's a big part of the thing.
All right, Dr. Tim, so discussing about listening to your body as well, another big misconception out there, and I would say myth, is if you eat enough calories, you're going to get enough protein. What say you about that one?
I don't think so.
But there's some raw food teachers that say that.
There is. And I went for many years probably protein deficient.
Because you believe that?
Because I believed that. I was getting the calories in, mostly fruit, some greens, and I thrived for a long time. But then pretty soon I started having problems.
What problems did you have?
Fatigue. I wasn't being able to exercise as heavy as I wanted to, or I had been before. My brain didn't function, and all I had to do was just change things up a little bit. It didn't take much. So it works when you work it, not when you just say, "Oh, I can keep going. I can keep going." You gotta listen to your body. There's been a lot of people who turn into another diet to say, "Well, the raw food diet didn't work." Well, I'm sorry, it does. It just, how did you work the raw food diet?
So how can somebody ensure they get enough protein, and not just protein, but amino acids on a raw vegan diet?
Yeah, that's the big thing, is we can show that you are getting enough protein, but are you getting the amino acids? And you can check amino acids via a food diary, but you can also check with testing. And again and again, I see that certain amino acids are always lacking in people who are in low protein. But then they say, well, look at my protein, my blood protein, it says I'm fine. But I also see on the blood urea nitrogen, a BUN test, which is right in the same metabolic panel, that their nitrogen is low. And that tells me that they're not getting the protein that they need. And that can be a big thing. But there's also the people who are getting too much protein that cause problems as well. But again, especially with the people new to the raw food diet, we usually do see a protein deficiency somewhere, or amino acid deficiency somewhere. And that can be a big thing.
So what are some ways to ensure you don't have an amino acid deficiency, Tim?
First test, find out what you need. Because some fruits and vegetables have higher of one and not as much as the other. But I have to say, when people tell you that you have to combine your proteins, this is not a real thing. This is a myth. That even fruit, most fruits, the only one is one type of apple that I can remember, does not have all 8 essential amino acids. But sometimes when you got a fruit, those essential amino acids are not quite the need for the body in the whole of the amounts, that you're not quite getting what they are. But there's other ones that we could be deficient too, and some things do help better. So like a banana, for people who are tryptophan deficient, actually has serotonin in it, which helps not need the extra tryptophan. So it can help, but you have to look at the whole picture and see where we go.
So would you say generally, like if you're eating a more diverse diet, then you're more likely to get your protein needs met because, you know, bananas have a different protein than apples that have a different protein than jackfruit that has a different protein than, of course, my favorite leafy greens such as romaine, kale, or even bok choy, or spinach, or Swiss chard, or any of the other number of leafy greens out there, and other vegetables?
Yeah. So getting variety can be the key to it. You know, if you're eating the same thing every day, day in, day out, then you have no way to find out if there's, you're continuing a deficiency is what you're doing. And you don't need to do that. We need to get the variety in and keep things going. You know, if you don't get it you don't get an amino acid one day, but you get an overabundance the next day, the body can make that up and hold things and make it balanced and corrected.
But if you don't get it every day, you're in trouble.
But the more days you do without, the deeper the trouble gets.
All right, so next misconception is actually for the ladies out there, not for the men. So it's regarding women's periods, or that time of month for the women. And you know, some people, unfortunately, in the raw food community say if your period disappears, that means you're healthy and you're not toxic. And so what would you say to that misconception?
You know, I believed that misconception for a very long time. And the truth is that most of the women who have lost the menses period of their period are not eating enough, and so it is affecting your hormones, and so there could be more of a problem. The bottom line is that that you got to check to make sure that you're getting enough calorie in, you're getting enough of the needed things, the proteins and the fats, because fats help build your hormones, so do the proteins. And that usually can be the big thing. Sometimes you're also over-exercising or overtraining. And that can lead to the same thing because you're using up the nutrients that you need in your muscles and not for the sex organs. So this is a big misconception. Other times you find that it does relieve things like PMS, premenstrual syndrome, and other problems that young ladies have. But the bottom line is that it's because your hormones aren't there to do the job, and so there's a lack, and the having PMS is a whole other issue that needs to be dealt with at another time. But having no menses means that there could be something that's not quite working for you, and it needs to be checked out.
All right, Tim, so we're down to the last misconception, and I know some of you guys out there believe this, is that I get all the nutrients I need on a raw vegan diet. I don't need to get a blood test because I'm perfect, because I'm above the law, because I'm raw vegan. And everything's perfect, hunky-dory, no matter what kind of raw vegan diet you eat, including a high fruit diet and not enough greens. What say you?
A lot of times when we find a belief that cannot be substantiated, still keeps things going. It's placebo effect, or the no placebo effect. It's what we believe. And if you go along this way without documenting at least what you're getting in, we find that you don't make the changeover very well, and you keep having problems and you keep getting worse. The bottom line is that you need to test, or at least document, to find out if you are in need of more nutrients. One of the things I find again and again for raw foodists is that they're used to condensed food, dense food itself. You take a Big Mac, over 250 calories. It's not too big, but there's 250. You know how many oranges that takes? That takes over 10 oranges for that 250 plus calories that you get from the Big Mac. There's a difference there in volume. And the stomach has not expanded enough when you're not used to it. And then once you start doing it for a long time, you feel really great. You don't feel a need to expand your stomach to get proper amount of calories in. So we have a tendency to go with, well, I don't need to test because I feel great. Well, I'm telling you that in a little bit you may not be feeling great, and you're going to wonder, why is this working? Why is this not working? And then you're going to say, well, this diet doesn't work, and so you're going to go switch and look for something else, instead of learning to see how you can work the diet better.
And so that would mean what? Somebody gets tested to see, how can I dial this in so that I'm feeling great and I'm getting all my nutrient needs met? And maybe even take a supplement if needed.
Chances are you probably won't need a supplement. Chances are that it's just making sure that you're getting enough of the food that you're eating. Again and again I see this. Occasionally there is a situation where you're not, it's not really a nutrient that you're lacking. Sometimes it's the body's using up things quicker than it's taking in. Sometimes it's not making a non-essential amino acid. Sometimes it's not. It's getting in enough omega-3 fats, but then it's not converting all the way down to the DHA, which is one of the wonderful things that we make from the simple omega-3 fats that we get from our foods. So testing eventually is needed for just about everyone. And I don't care what diet you're on. I don't care if you think it's the healthiest diet in the world. If you're not testing, you don't know that you can't prove it. And I'm not talking about a simple little test. When it's about health, are you worth it? Are you worth doing the extra effort to ensure not just about today, but to be able to know that you're going into the future and you're doing the best possible ever, and then making it So this is the difference.
Wow. So, Dr. Tim, how can you help somebody get tested if they want to get tested to make sure they're on track and avoid these misconceptions, whether it's about, not getting enough nutrition, not getting enough calories, not getting enough protein? You could test all these things in our blood. So do you offer this testing, and how can somebody get a hold of you so that they could work with you to ensure they're on the right path so they're not going to have to make another Why I'm No Longer Raw Vegan video?
I like to use professional tests. There's a lot of tests out there, and in fact this week there's a new announcement from a functional doctor who said that they put together these tests to make sure that you're functioning absolutely 100%. What they do is some regular blood tests, some generalized blood tests, and it's really cheap. I mean, even if you went out and tried to get it on your own and pay for your test, whether your doctor orders or not, you would pay probably 2, 3 times as much. But they are not tests that go deep enough. They are tests that just kind of skim over the top and say, look, you're doing great, or you're not doing great. I use the deep tests that really look at not just nutrition, but the metabolites that help you function. I look at stool tests. I do everything. And sometimes we need to even dig more, and we go into specific tests. If we find out your iodine is not doing really well, why is that? Or if you're not getting enough iodine in your diet, then okay, fine, you just add that. But sometimes we have to look at antibodies. Sometimes we have to look at how your thyroid is functioning. That's when we go deeper. And a lot of times we just see most doctors say, oh, you did a thyroid test, your TSH is a little bit high, so we're going to put you on thyroxine or another drug. This does not help the cause. It does not eliminate the cause. What it does is it masks over the symptoms, and a lot of people, especially women, really have a problem with not feeling good yet, even though they're taking the medication. The doctor says you should be feeling great. When you don't feel great, that is a big sign, and doctors need to pay attention to it. I try to pay attention to it so we can go deeper and deeper and find the problem and eliminate it for the rest of your life, because you know the answers. It's not about taking a supplement, it's not about getting more food, it's about you know the answers. And that's where I come in, because we work together to find answers.
So Dr. Tim, how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to dive deeper into their health and nutrition?
Go to my website, recoverhealth.info, and look at what we have, see what I have to offer. If you need more, go to Health Partner, which tells us how we would work together. And if you need testing, we can do that. But all you need to do is give me an email, and we'll start digging together and finding out answers. You can also find me on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook, and hopefully soon on YouTube.
All right, great. I will put the links down below if you guys want to contact Dr. Tim. So Tim, before we sign off today, any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with my viewers today?
We can always find answers. Don't stop until you find the answers. If you have a chronic disease and still have the chronic disease, there's more answers to be found. If you're just trying to build your health, this is the time to really prevent any problems later. And then we can lift you up before the problems come. That's really a key. So hang in there and be healthy.
All right, thank you. Yes, definitely wise words to live by. So that brings us to the end of this episode. And if you guys enjoyed this episode where we dispel some of the misconceptions on the raw vegan diet, please be sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also be sure to share this with other people in the raw vegan movement so that they can learn the correct answers from Dr. Tim Trader, who has been in a raw vegan diet for the last 35 years. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on new and upcoming episodes. I'll come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know what's up, what you'll be learning, what new information I'll be sharing with you guys, and I wouldn't want you to miss any single episode, so make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to you guys all about how to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. If you want to learn more about Dr. Tim, once again, link down below to his original video I did, super long interview format, so you guys could get to know him on a more personal level. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always best.